Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of the Inspired Mindset podcast. I am so excited to start this podcast and really just pour into the listeners and share with you all the power that we all have to transform our lives from the inside out. That transformation is possible for every single one of you. If you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling like there's more out there that you know is possible, but you're just not sure how to grasp it, how to reach it, you're in the right place. And in today's episode, I am going to share with you my personal story of transformation and how I went from barely surviving, like stress, overwhelm, just feeling like I was in just such a dark place, to working on my inner well being, healing, letting go of the past, and really just opening my eyes to what is possible, that we don't have to be the victim of our life, that we don't have to just be a bystander looking at things as they happen to us, but we can actually be intentional co-creators of our reality. And it's so empowering, and it's something that is available to all of us. And my life completely transformed. And I went from barely surviving to thriving in every area of my life. In my career, even though I didn't change jobs, I was at the same job and I started to thrive, and everyone noticed the difference. And in my relationships, like everything transformed. And so I'm so excited to share how I did it, and really go kind of step by step into that process. And um, also, I wanted to share kind of where I'm at right now. So before we dive into the topic, um, I am 34 weeks pregnant, and this is my third child. I have a 5-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old son and a little girl on the way. And we do have a spirit baby as well, who passed away in 2020. I lost him at 13 weeks, and I will share more about that in another episode. But really, it is a miracle that I have made it this far to 34 weeks. Starting at about 18 weeks, my body started to show signs that it wanted to go into labor early, and there was a significant chance that the baby was going to come early. And so I got put on modified bed rest and medication. And then at 20 weeks, it was just getting worse. And so I was put on full bed rest. And I've been on full bed rest for the last 3.5 months, going on 4. And I share that because were it not for all of the tools that I have learned, the mindset shifts, the empowerment that I have received by shifting my mindset, by connecting with my higher power, with God, and co-creating the life that I desire, it's possible that the baby could have come earlier. There's so many different scenarios that could have played out, but I feel like the one that is playing out now, this miracle, as my doctors call it, or it's remarkable that you're still pregnant, that I often hear every time I go to the doctor's office. I firmly believe that is a combination of me, working with amazing doctors, and also really tapping into the power of our thoughts, how our thoughts create our reality, how we are able to support the healing process in our bodies by getting out of the stress mode, by getting out of fight or flight. And so I just wanted to share that with you before we get started, because I am so excited that I am this far along. And so by the time this episode airs, I'll either be 36 or 37 weeks pregnant, or I will have a baby girl. And so we're very excited and thrilled. And I just wanted to give that update. So let's dive into today's episode. And I want to share where I was at. So where I was at on the outside, it probably looked like I had it all together. I was working at a very prestigious law firm. I was making multiple 6 figures. I was going, taking on leadership positions. I was on boards. I was really doing all of the things that an attorney at my level should be doing, if not more. And I got pregnant with my daughter. And really, it was a beautiful pregnancy. It was my first pregnancy. And I really believed that I could continue working and raising a family, and that there was no reason that I couldn't have all of that I couldn't have it all. And when my daughter was 10 months old, there was a tension that I was feeling. I was feeling like, I want to spend more time with her, but I also want to have this career. And it was, there was family watching her. And so there was a conflict there of me wanting to have a successful career and also wanting to be very present with my family. But I firmly believe like this is possible, that I can have both. And then I got pregnant when my daughter was 10 months old with my son, with my second child. And that's when everything changed. I started to get complaints at work that I wasn't performing at the level that I needed to be performing at. Even though just the year before I was like getting amazing reviews and just like large raises and bonuses and all of that. And so there was that added pressure of like, okay, now you're not performing where you need to perform. Then there was different pressure from home life, feeling torn, as I mentioned, that I wanted to be home with with my daughter more, and feeling like I couldn't, and feeling that added pressure. And it just got to be too much. It got to be too much to where the life that I had created, this beautiful life, living in this beautiful home with a beautiful family, an amazing husband, like there was something inside of me that was missing. That was like, this is not the life that I thought, this is not how I thought life was going to be. I'm stressed. I'm scared that, that I'm going to lose my job. My confidence is down now because I'm not performing. Like, who am I? Like, really just all these questions came up. And, I was working so many hours and just trying to do my best, like just do the best I could. And I was pregnant, and that pregnancy was a high risk pregnancy as well. It wasn't as intense as this pregnancy has been, but I was on modified bed rest at about 27, 28 weeks. And so there was a lot of different added pressure. And then, even my husband and I were having conflicts over certain things. And so it was just like really every area of my life, my relationship with my husband, my career, my job, even friendships started to unravel. And I started to question like who my friends were and what kind of friends I wanted in my life. And, family situations were getting complicated. And so there was all these different levels of just feeling like things aren't working out. Like this isn't the life that I thought I was going to have. And so what did I want to do? There's the stress response, right? Fight. You're going to fight it, or you're going to flee. Or you're going to freeze. And so I just wanted to flee. I was like, okay, let's just like sell the house. Let's go, we can downsize. Or I was even like, let's move out of state, but this was pre-COVID. So that wasn't really like a viable option because we're both attorneys practicing in the state of California. And so, I was like, let's downgrade, let's go to a different city. Let's like, do anything we can to change everything on the outside, because that's where I was focused. I was like, let's change what's going on the outside, because on the inside, I am not happy. I am stressed. I am burned out. I am exhausted. And that wasn't an option, unfortunately, or fortunately. It wasn't an option. Like we couldn't flee. We couldn't sell the house. We just bought it. We couldn't like downgrade. We had in-laws living with us who were helping us with the kids. Excuse me. Like there was just no other option. I had to stay exactly where I was and continue and just like push through. And so if you've ever been in a situation like that, where things are not working out the way that you want them to, and you're feeling the stress and you're feeling the overwhelm, and there's nothing you can do about it. It tends to get worse if you don't do the inner work. And so I wasn't at a place yet, even though things were falling apart and I was feeling the way I was feeling, I still did not ask for help. I still did not say, okay, maybe I need to start, talking to a therapist, or maybe I should, get a life coach, or maybe I should do something. I was just like, you can do this, because, so often in life we have these like periods of stress and ease, and then stress and ease. And it's kind of like it ebbs and flows, right? So I just thought this is another one of those times where I got a lot of stress going on right now, but it'll go away. It'll pass. So I kept thinking it's going to pass. It's going to pass. And it never did. And what ended up happening was I started to feel physical manifestations of my stress and anxiety. I started to feel like I couldn't breathe, like I was suffocating, like there was this weight on my chest. My stomach would hurt. Like so many times I would just feel like a twist in my stomach or pain in my stomach. I would cry myself to sleep at night. So many nights I would stay up at night thinking about like conversations I had during the day and like second guessing myself all the time, and just really feeling like in such a low and dark place. And I was pregnant. I was pregnant with my son, with my beautiful son, and I had a little baby girl at home. So at the time it was a lot. It was overwhelming, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I just pushed through it. And I ended up, having my son, and he was just so healthy and perfect and just like an angel, really just such a blessing at a time that um, I needed him. And when I gave birth, there was a situation at home where, um, I started to just realize that like the anxiety that I was feeling and the stress and the overwhelm, like I thought it would go away. And it didn't. It was still there. And there was a situation where my husband and I were like putting the kids to bed, and we were having a disagreement, and we were talking about something, and I got so mad that I had a book in my hand because I was reading the kids like a good night, like an evening book, like a storybook before bedtime. And I got mad and I threw the book on the floor. I got up, I threw the book on the floor, and I stormed out of the room. And I look behind, and it's like I'm leaving my husband and my baby and my little girl in the room. And I'm just like, this is not the person that I am. This is not who I want to be. I don't want to be this person that has these outbursts because I'm feeling anxiety and stress. Like maybe I need to talk to my doctor. Maybe I need to start getting help. And so that's exactly what I did. I talked to my doctor, and he introduced me to his doctor, or his, not doctor, but his therapist. And he's like, okay, so this is who I see, Katrina, and he is amazing. Like, go see him. You can go to like a psychologist or a psychiatrist, but just go see this therapist. And so I did. And that was the start of my journey of doing the inner work, of working on changing my mindset and healing. And it's so amazing how God really guides us in the right direction, because after I started seeing this therapist, I started to become more open to like, maybe there's other possibilities out there for me. He really opened my eyes to this ability that we have to co-create our reality, that we're not victims of our life, that we can actually be very intentional with what it is that we want to see in our life. And we can create that and manifest that from the inside out. And so one of my family members mentioned that there was a stock class that I could take. And I saw that as an opportunity to supplement my income and maybe work less as an attorney so that I could create this lifestyle that would be more appropriate for what it is that I wanted in my life. And so in the stock class, like the very first day, the instructor's like, trading stocks is 5% how to do, like, I'm going to teach you how to trade stocks, but the other 95%, and maybe it's actually 98%, is mindset. It's all about the mindset. And we had these like lists of books that we had to read or that we got to read that just really opened my eyes again to this, like the power of our mindset. And a lot of the books too were about manifesting how our thoughts create our reality. That when you think, if you think you're going to fail at something, you're going to fail. But if you think you're going to succeed, then you're going to succeed. You have that belief that just won't go away. And it's all about the mindset. And so it was like combining the mindset from this stock class and all of the books and all of that perspective with my therapist who approached mindset in a very spiritual way. And putting it all together, it really created the early education for my transformation. And what started to happen is that I completely changed. Instead of seeing things as bad, as negative, as obstacles, as difficulties, I started to see things as opportunities, as chances, as ways for me to grow, as ways for me to step up, to grow, and to reach my new level. And I completely changed. I completely transformed. And in that process too, I also healed. I let go of a lot of traumas from my childhood, and healing and forgiving, and just like letting go, forgiving myself, forgiving others, and just stepping into a place of more love, of more kindness, of more peace. And so, in addition to healing and letting go, changing my mindset, I also started to visualize and kind of think about what it is that I wanted to see in my life. And so at first, my visualizations were about, working and what kind of like schedule would I want, and like maybe going back part-time, and what would that look like? And I didn't really think it was possible. And I ended up going back to work, and like everything was so different, even though it was like the same job, the same people, same bosses, same kind of work, but it was so different. Like I went to work and I was like enthusiastic to learn and to grow and to step into the role that my bosses wanted me to be. They wanted me to have these new skills and do these different things, and really step into a higher level as an attorney. And I was ready for it. I was like, I believed in myself. Instead of feeling like I don't have the confidence to do this, I was like, I can do this. And I really got to see the power of how my thoughts really influenced how I was performing at work. And I went from like, oh, like there's all these issues, to like, wow, like we're seeing an improvement, like your attitude's improved, like everything's improving. And it was really just very powerful, and everyone could see the difference in me. They were like, there's something different about her. You're such a pleasure to work with again. Like it was a lot of positive reinforcement. And that was true for really every area of my life. So my work, just my whole work situation was different. It improved tremendously. And I really started to thrive at work. I would close the door during lunch and put a sign like, do not disturb. And I would meditate during my lunch. I would go on breaks in the afternoon with like a colleague and just go get a cup of coffee and go for a little walk, and then come back to the office and feel refreshed. And so often we just like rush through our days and we're like busy, 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 instead of taking those moments to turn down the nervous system, to turn off the stress, the fight or flight, and to start feeling good at work, and really rejuvenating ourselves and getting that reset during the day. And so I would, visualize, I would meditate, I would take breaks, and I would continue to do this inner work, reading books, working with my therapist, and just doing that work. And my life was changing from the inside out because I was changing. And so, and then, my relationship started to change. Like my relationship with my husband was just flourishing again. And the kind of mother that I was changing as a mother. I was changing as, a daughter, a friend, like everything started to change. And life was just amazing. Life is so, so good. And, like I said, I didn't leave the firm. I didn't, change my relationships. I didn't get a new husband. I didn't, I did cut out some friends at that time. And, God replaced and gave me amazing friends. But everything was pretty much the same. But everything was different because I had changed. And so I really got to see, like, oh my gosh, like just getting out of stress mode, it just opens your eyes to like this new possibility. And so I was working at this firm for about 18 months and just like thriving and thinking like, okay, maybe one day I will teach others what I did. I will help others because I've always in my heart been a teacher. I've always loved sharing, mentoring, and helping others. And, I chose the path that I did for various reasons, for, wanting, um, sometimes we get put into careers because we think like, for whatever reason, like, oh, this is where I'll make the most money, or, oh, this is like gonna make my parents happy, or, oh, like we make choices in life, not necessarily because it's what we desire and what we want, but it's because what we think what other people want for us or want of us. And so, and that's fine. I mean, that's what guided me. But then when I realized, like, what is it that I actually want to do? What is it that I want to bring in this life? I realized that it wasn't to be an attorney full time and to do that kind of work. It was to help others, to bring light to others, to empower others, and to really be a tool in the transformation in people's lives. And what a blessing to be able to do that. And so I had in the back of my mind, like one day I would love to do that, but that'll be like in 3 to 5 years. I had this kind of like timeline. And of course, our timeline can be much longer or shorter sometimes than God's. But I started to visualize, like, what would it be like to have time freedom? And maybe I would do, the stocks as my full source of income. So instead of, working at the law firm, I would do like my income from stocks would just grow and grow. So then I could leave the practice of law, and then eventually I could start my business where I'm helping others, where I'm doing my true purpose and living out my true purpose in life. And so I started to visualize, like, what would that look like? How would my days, I'd wake up and, I'd wake up at 6 a.m. and I would meditate. And then at 6:30, because I'm on Pacific time, I would check the stock market and I would do trades and I would, build my income that way. And then eventually I would start my business and help people. So I had this kind of like this vision of what I was desiring, what I was calling forth in my life. 2 weeks later, after I started having this visualization of time freedom, of not working at the law firm anymore, of trading stocks, of helping others, 2 weeks later, this is the middle of COVID 2020, I got laid off. And as it was happening, I just felt so peaceful. I was like, God, I know that this is all happening because I am manifesting this in my life. I have been visualizing and meditating on this happening. I mean, not that way, right? Like I didn't see it happening in that way, but the end result was the same, right? I saw it as like, one day I'll leave and I'll be trading stocks and I'll be doing this. And it was like, it didn't happen the way I saw it, but the end result was the same. I had the time freedom. I was now able to focus all my attention on the stocks. And that's really what I did. I focused my attention on the stocks, and that was going to be my source of income. And then I felt led, like, Katrina, remember that thing that you want to do, how you want to help people, how you want to inspire people, how you want to open their eyes to what's possible, that we don't have to live in this state of survival, that life doesn't have to be this like struggle. It doesn't have to be a struggle. Remember that message that you want to share? Well, why don't you start sharing it? What are you waiting for? And so I did. I took the leap and I started Inspired Mindset. And I've been going at it for almost a year, not quite, but almost there. And now I use the stocks as a way to manage wealth versus creating a source of income. Because when you trade stocks as a source of income, there is more management that's required on a day-to-day basis. But for me, I look more at the long-term investment. And it's so amazing. Like, I'm so thankful. Like, I don't need to hire like a 401k company to manage my stocks. Like, I can do that myself. And at the same time, I can have this business and I can, raise two amazing children and one more on the way. And really, I've created this life that is even greater than I thought was possible. It's even greater than I had imagined when I first started to think what it is that I want to create in my life. And that ability is available to each and every one of you. And so if right now you're like, Katrina, yes, I'm feeling like I'm barely surviving. I'm feeling like I'm stressed out. I'm on the edge of burnout. I'm feeling this self-doubt. I have these dreams, but like you can't even really figure out what it is that you truly desire because you're in this state of stress. And so I would just encourage you to continue to take the steps that are going to change your life. Listen to this podcast, listen to other podcasts that are inspiring you. Work with a life coach, work with a therapist. There is nothing wrong with getting outside support. And, one of the things that I love doing in my own business with Inspired Mindset is I have different options for people who want to continue this work. If you want to kind of dip your toes into it and get a monthly support in a group setting, I have the Inspired Mindset membership, which is we meet twice a month. We talk about a different topic involving mindset and spirituality and manifesting. And then in the second session, we do a meditative breathwork session to get us out of that stress mode, to calm our nervous system, and to release any blocks that are holding us back, to work on that healing part, that letting go part. And so that is an option if you want to learn more about this work. Another option I have is one-on-one coaching that I'm offering right now. So that's available as well if you want to do more kind of, one-on-one, let's work together, a lot more support that you're going to get in that container. And then the podcast, like this podcast is absolutely free. And every week you're going to get to hear inspiring episodes that are going to empower you and really help you and support you on this journey of transformation. And so whether this is like your first kind of exposure to this type of work, or you've been on this journey for years, like welcome. I'm so excited to be a part of this journey with you. And if you like today's episode, please go ahead and hit those 5 stars and give me a review. I would love to hear from you, and I will definitely shout you out in a future episode. And thank you so much for listening.